If it has to be explained by this point why the hands-off protests were peaceful versus how other protests that are meant to be peaceful end up not being peaceful because there are people who look like me at the protest, there is a narrative that you want to believe. And baby, if that's your reality, I'm going to let you sit in it. Because the fact that I have seen other color redacted people, and I'm just saying that because this app, who have some sense, are basically explaining why the protests have been so peaceful. And then their color redacted counterparts get up here and still remain ignorant to the information that people who look like them are giving. This is something that they want to believe. This is a reality they want to live in. And honestly, that's why I stopped like over a year ago wasting my energy trying to explain it to these people, because they want to remain ignorant. They want to remain ignorant. There's no way you're going to sit up here and tell me that they're not living in this alternate reality. Because for some Casper concubines to come out their mouth and say, oh yeah, we should put a bouncy house at a protest, that's like saying, oh, we should have a daycare at a gun range. Are you well? Don't answer that. Like, I just need for those of us who have sense to gather around and be amongst each other, because those people want to be left by the wayside. And for the people who look like me that want to be left by the wayside, y'all better be glad Auntie Harriet don't live no more, because y'all already know what would happen if she was here.
Hello everybody and welcome back to Trending Pulse Worldwide. If you're new here, my name is Amy, and on this channel we break down trending stories, reactions, and all the conversation happening online that you don't want to miss. So today we are talking about the April 5th protest, and more specifically how some Black Americans are reacting to it online. They weren't there physically, but they are watching everything unfold and giving their 2 cents. And honestly, some of the reactions really got people thinking. So let's check out what they had to say first, and then I'll come back and share my thoughts with you.
And I just have a couple of observations and questions about the protests that were held on April 5th. First of all, Black folks, collectively, we understood the assignment, and we did not put our Black bodies on the line. We stayed at home. We spent time with friends and family. We got our rest. That is a powerful form of protest in and of itself. Many people don't realize that. Number two, to the organizers of all the massive demonstrations that occurred on April 5th, you all got quite a turnout. I'm watching some of the video footage of it. But here's an interesting observation I want to make about your protest on April 5th. It's interesting that it was held on a Saturday in downtown corridors. Why is that interesting? Because most businesses are closed on Saturday and the traffic is very low. Very little disruption on a Saturday. So the crowds gathered and held up signs, and you all chanted. Something else I noticed is the lack of response from law enforcement. The boys and the girls in blue, I didn't see any of them in the footage that I saw. I'm sure there were some there. But militarized gear, tanks, riot gear, tear gas, rubber bullets, people being pushed down and dragged off in handcuffs. I didn't see any of that. In fact, the tenor of most of the protests on April 5th that I saw and witnessed was more like a party, a big powwow. Not impressed. And my question to you all is, I know that you're reveling in your self-congratulations and you're busy patting yourself and others on the back. What's next? You all didn't bring that January 6, 2021 energy, I see. So what's next? What are you going to do in a voting booth should we have elections, the next election cycle, whenever that may be in your area? How are you going to vote? In your daily life, what are you going to do about the MAGA relatives in your family and in your friend circle, in your coworkers, especially when they get around you and they start spewing their racist and xenophobic ideologies? Well, we protested on April 5th. April 5th has now come and gone. And from what I understand, Agent Orange, and I may be wrong, he was golfing. Unbothered. So, all you April 5th protesters, what's next? Black folks, again, we're doing what we are supposed to do. All we need to do is just keep moving forward. We are protesting by refusing to put our bodies on the line. We are protesting with our dollars. We are protesting by starting businesses and supporting Black businesses. That's how we're protesting, and it's working. Just ask the executives at Target and the board over at Tesla. Very interesting, April 5th. But now that's over. What's next, y'all?
Good afternoon, everybody. Okay, so how's everybody doing? This is the check-in after April the 5th. So the 80% of Black men and the 92% of Black women stayed home. But that didn't mean we weren't going to watch. And almost absolutely immediately, I noticed the difference. They had protesters marching everywhere in every major city across this country, from the east to the west to the north to the south. But you know who was noticeably missing? Police in riot gear. Attack dogs, tear gas canisters, and rubber bullets. Now, we knew this was going to be the case because, our form of peaceful protest looks very, very, very different to what we saw yesterday in the minds and the eyes of the police. They show up to create a narrative that Black people can't peacefully protest, when in the actuality, they don't want us out there at all. We know that people can gather in mass quantities and it still be peaceful if you got the right skin color. Now, what do you all think would have happened in New York with that big crowd they had if that crowd was Black? The cops would have showed up on Friday night, setting up the barricades, getting ready. But they knew this was a white protest, and they knew that Black people were staying home, so they decided to go ahead on and take the day off. Cops took the day off from out of arm reach, Alabama, all the way up to Chitlin Switch, Chattanooga, Boston. Now, I'm not mad. I'm glad it all went off peacefully. But yesterday was an experiment. And Black people, we proved our point. We proved our point. And because yesterday was so flagrant in the way these protests were policed, or the lack thereof, I guess this is how we have to go going forward. Personally, I think protesting at the ballot box, which I already did when I voted for Kamala Harris, that was my protest against Donald Trump. So showing up yesterday would have been moot for me. Yelling and screaming, which basically does nothing. Sure, it shows solidarity. But if you didn't if you didn't vote because you were protesting Kamala Harris and you were out in the streets yesterday, what sense are you making today when you think back on it? Yesterday, if the right decision was made in November, yesterday wouldn't even be an issue. It wouldn't even have been a need to do it. This is a lesson that needs to be learned the hard way. And Black people, we're going to let them do it. We're going to let them do it. I don't care what you're feeling. I don't care how you're feeling about it.
Okay, so let's talk about this. One thing that stood out in almost every reaction was the idea that the protest was only peaceful because Black people weren't there. There was no police presence, no tear gas, no violence, just a calm gathering. And to them, that says a lot. And some of them were even joking, saying it didn't feel serious. Like, why were they requesting for something like a bouncing castle in a protest? It felt like a light gathering, not the kind of protest we are used to seeing when it's Black folks involved. And to make make it even wilder, Trump was golfing while all this was happening. Like, man wasn't even pretending to care. And on top of that, the protest happened on a weekend, so most businesses were closed. There wasn't much to disrupt, which had people wondering, was this really about making a statement or just a peaceful walk with signs? But here's the thing. When you've lived your whole life seeing peaceful protests turn violent, only when you're involved, you start to notice the double standard. You start to realize, wait, maybe it's not how we protest, it's who is protesting. And for me, watching these reactions, it felt like a moment of realization for many. Like, this isn't just about policy or politics anymore. It's about visibility and how different groups are treated when they speak up. And it's really eye-opening because peaceful protest should be the standard, not the exception. But when peace only seems to exist in certain crowds, it says something about the system and who is built to protect. But hey, that's just my take. What do you all think? Let's have this conversation down in the comments. I really want to know how you all are feeling about this. And guys, thank you so much for watching and spending your time with me today. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more trending discussions like this. Thank you so much, and I'll see you guys in the next one.